The Musk versus Zuck cage match is heating up. Meta posting strong revenue growth, citing a resurgent digital ad market. Meantime, Elon Musk's Twitter rebrand facing some criticism from marketing experts who estimate the move could cost $4 to $20 billion in brand value. Here to help us with that version of the cage match of sorts, Rich Greenfield, Lightshed Partners. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Let's talk Twitter first, or X first, and then we're going to get into the meta piece of it since we got their earnings this week. The brand switch, does it matter to you?
I mean, look, I think it's sort of strange. I mean, look, I think over time, you think about what Meta did, where they rebranded the parent company. That, I think whether or not you love that or hate it, like we still call it Facebook, right? You still call it Instagram. Consumers don't really care about the brand Meta. It doesn't mean anything to them. They may see it, but I think the reality is in this case, like, it's not like Twitter is owned by X. It's X. And I think if you think about what Elon's thinking about longer term, he's trying to make this into, he's fascinated by payments and commerce. Remember, he comes from PayPal. I mean, he definitely has visions for this to be an everything app like you would find in China. Whether you can do that in this country, look, there's no proof that people want an everything app versus 4 or 5 core apps on their phone. That's what he's going to try to prove. There's no proof points, though, that Americans want it.
Piece of it. I actually think the product itself, and you and I use it relatively religiously,
yes,
is actually better than it's been in a very, very long time in terms of the actual feature set, the technology behind it. It seems, at least from my experience, I mean, I know it's gone down a couple of times, but I'm a fan in that regard. I think the complication for a Linda Yaccarino who's trying to sell ads, or for anybody who's trying to sell ads, is sort of the messaging that sometimes Elon brings around things that companies don't think is brand safe.
There is no doubt that Elon tweets things, or I don't know. Do we still call it tweets, Andrew? I don't know what the right term is anymore. I mean, are we Xing or something? But I mean, look, the reality is Twitter has a really engaged audience. I don't think, it's very hard to replicate that audience elsewhere. I think from the standpoint of pushing out product, just the actual features. I mean, the problem with Twitter since it was conceived, and you could talk to Adam Bain or Dick Costello, like you could go back to Jack Dorsey, like talk to any of the executives. One of the problems was they were sort of stuck because of all of their legacy technical debt. It was very hard to innovate. You've heard the word like molasses in terms of how fast Twitter moved to innovate. I think Elon is pushing, I mean, maybe to a fault, but he just pushes at an incredible speed. That's what he's obviously really good at. The sort of challenges you're bringing up is like, it would be great. It's always great to have a CEO that tweets. I think that's important. I think the topics that Elon tends to tweet on, though, do sort of raise sort of questions for advertisers, and I think creates extra work for Linda Yaccarino, who's trying to restore faith in the platform from an advertiser standpoint.
Do you have any sense that she's having success yet?
I think it's way too early. I think the flip side, though, is like everyone was worried about Threads. I mean, you showed the graphic as we came in. Look, Threads, I think Mark even said it at town hall, has lost more than half of its, users. And I'm not even sure what that means. The real question, the only question you want to know about Threads, I don't care how many hundreds of millions of people signed up, how many people are using it daily? Because my perception, looking at it, when I post to it, there is not a lot of engagement.
Very low.
And I see the same people over and over again.
So it seems to me they had great success in the beginning. The mistake was not recognizing perhaps that actually 100 million people would sign up, and therefore you'd be on Broadway on day one. And a thought that somehow they could iterate the product, given that the feature set is still, as somebody said to me, it's threadbare, if you will, on a relative basis to the feature set you have inside Twitter. So the
only thing I'd say is Mark is unlike any human we've ever met. I mean, he's almost superhuman. I mean, look at what he's done with Reels. Reels has basically copied TikTok, and you look at it's now a $10 billion business, incremental to what was already on Instagram. I mean, you think about what he's been able to achieve, his ability to execute, copy, and improve. He throws incredible resources at it. So how many? I think it's too early to judge.
But the question is, how are you going to get everybody who signed up for Threads already back onto Threads, if you will? Or do you believe that because of the power of Instagram, which is connected to it, that all they need to do is sort of say 2.0 is here, go over there and check it out, and that I mean, how many shots on goal do you have, right?
You need moments. You know, there are key moments in our life, Andrew, where we've turned to Twitter and it has become culturally relevant. And we can think about it, you know, whether it was January 6th, whether it was, you know, you think about Super Bowl moments with the Oreo, like there are key moments. There's been no Threads moment. And one of the things that worries me, and I'd love your view on this, is, you know, Threads doesn't really want to be in the news business and the sports news business.
Go next with this. Yes.
And look, that's what triggers people, right? Like good or bad, sort of the hostility both ways is sort of what makes Twitter, the passion comes out.
I think you need the news piece. You know, I was with Kevin Durant in LA on Tuesday. He basically runs NBA Twitter, as far as I can tell. You need players like him and others in the sports business to be on there and to be threading all the time. And the question is, how can you get the media business, which they say they don't want, the sports, I mean, all of these things, as you talk about, things that are culturally relevant in the moment that feel newsy, even if they're not news itself. And how do you get those folks to actually play ball?
Twitter has always been, if you go back to the earliest days, it's what's happening live right now. Like it is that moment. Every moment is sort of live on Twitter. You don't really feel that so much on Threads. Now, look, Mark is an animal. Like, my guess is he sees this. I wonder how much he will evolve and adapt, seeing that it isn't creating the engagement he needs. Does he pivot? And even if he says no news today, now look, he's got a long history of not liking the news.